are still able to manage at 8 o'clock. We are going to start a new topic, priority queues. We are going to discuss it a little bit, maybe a couple of days or maybe 3 days, and after that we'll move to the next topic. Um, so let's first talk about where we need priority queues. Right? So we know about queues, and we said that it can be implemented using an array or a linked list. You just insert elements in some order, but as long as removal is concerned, that has to be done in exactly the same order as in search. So that was okay, and but so that follows what we call as FIFO order or first come first served order, which suffices in many places. But there exist situations where not all the elements that get inserted have the same priority. For example, if there is traffic going on, well, usually uh, the vehicle which is at front is going to continue being in front, um, assuming some sort of uniform vehicular movement. But then if there is an ambulance, then typically we are expected to give way to the ambulance, right? So therefore, we in some sense give priority to that ambulance. In some other cases, for example, if you are at a shop in, let's say, Gurunath or Primart, right, and then there are multiple students who are at the counter, and maybe a very strong student comes in, maybe we'll give priority to that student even if that student comes later, right? So essentially what I'm trying to convey is that there are priorities associated with the elements, and therefore we might have to design a data structure such that we are always interested in identifying the highest priority element. We are always interested in identifying the highest priority element. See, identifying highest priority element one time is easy. You just keep track of that as a separate entity. But then we would like to do that repeatedly. What is the current highest priority? And then once you remove that element, what is the next highest priority? And so on. Right? This also can be easily ordered, that whenever the higher, I mean, we keep those in an array, keep the elements in an array or a list, and order those based on priority. Right? So that seems to be reasonable. Whenever a new element comes, then I put that in a particular sorted order. But that sorting in an array or a list is going to take some time, and we would like to see if that can be done in an efficient manner. And that is where not a linear but a tree based data structure turns out to be useful in such applications. So the scenario is that you are given certain set of elements, you would like to construct a data structure such that you will be able to find the maximum priority element fast and continue doing that on the remaining set of elements. And at the same time, the elements might get added and removed to this data structure. And that essentially is going to lead to heaps. So let's understand its motivation in a few applications. Like I was mentioning, ambulance in traffic. If a customer is buying one chocolate, right, amid others who are buying loads of grocery, the customer might have to wait for a long time. And or in many shops, usually, or rather bigger shops, it's all completely queue based, right? The every customer has the same priority in some sense, and therefore, even if somebody is buying a small uh, amount of grocery, that person might have to wait. If you know some of the bigger shops, you will realize that if you have number of items less than 5, then you can go to a particular queue where the billing can get done faster, right? So this is essentially giving priority to certain customers. When you are going by aeroplane, then there is a business class or first class, and that is going to be giving priority to some others for boarding. Right? So these are all different situations in which we give priority to certain people. But on the software side, you can have different processes which might have different priorities, and uh, For example, the user processes have some default priority, but then there might be some system processes which should be given higher priority. If somebody is running some backup, or some process is running some backup, or it's checking if some updates have been installed or not, etc. All of those processes typically get higher priority than our user-driven A.out, etc. processes. Similarly, if the Wi-Fi is working, there might be some service process running on it and so on. In a lift or a bus or an aeroplane, typically the physically disabled people, they get priority. Even in JEE, there are different categories of admissions, right? Not everybody is considered equivalent, and therefore there might be priorities given to certain students and so on, right? So there are large set of applications where priorities are important. And if there were no priorities or all priorities are the same, then essentially you can go for a first in, first out order. But then when the priorities are different, we need a priority queue. Right? So let's understand what a priority queue is. Similar to hash functions or similar to hash tables, the data structure is going to maintain a key value pair. Right? For each key, we are going to maintain some value associated with it. The priority is going to be decided by this key. Okay, and of course, like in hash tables, value may not always be present. The key itself is the value sometimes, right? Which is what will happen in our examples, but in real life, there will be a key value pair. So the expectation behind this data structure is that we would be able to retrieve the element with the maximum priority at any point in time, and that we would like to do as fast as possible. So if you think about different ways in which this can be done, I can do it using a linked list. Right? In which case, I can just insert, for example, a queue. Right? I can just insert in order 1 at some location, right? Maybe at the end of the queue, and then finding the maximum takes order n time, where n is the number of elements to be inserted. This also might be useful. I mean, this also might be fine in some applications where you want to prioritize insert, that is the number of inserts is more, but find max doesn't happen those many number of times. So it might still be okay. I can use a sorted list where sorting is now based on the priority, in which case the insertion becomes order n, right? Whether I'm using an array or a, well, not array, but a list, linked list, then the insertion becomes order. Oh, well, even if I'm using array, the finding the position where to insert in a sorted array will turn out to be log n because of binary search, but then shifting of the elements will still take order n time. And therefore, insertion in a sorted linked list or an array, both will take order n time, whereas finding the maximum turns out to be now easy because I can just take the last element which has the highest priority, or the first element if I'm doing it in the reverse sorted order. I can use a BST. Right? I have learned all of this in PDS, so let me utilize that knowledge. So I can do a BST, but the BST in the worst case can take order height, which can be order n, but finding the maximum value might turn out to be order 1. Finding the maximum value in the BST might turn out to be order 1, but you might say that, oh, how can it be order 1? Any suggestions? I mean, for finding the maximum, we wrote the code, right? So it was using a for loop which was going all the way to the right and then finding it out. So why did I write find max is order 1? Okay, so the idea here is that you actually maintain that information, right? So whenever you don't compute it at that time, but you maintain it, which means that you already have a pointer to that splaying. No, splaying will still give login complex. Well, we are talking about BST. We are not talking about. Well, yeah, splaying is in some sense, yeah, doing operations in the BST. But yeah, we did not talk about the height balancing yet, which we will talk about in case of AVLs. But yeah, splaying will not give us find max in order 1 time. Find max will still require us uh, amortized log n time. Right? So what I'm trying to suggest here is that you don't have to compute it every time. You can keep a pointer to it as you are inserting, and then from there keep other pointer which is going to the next maximum and so on. Right? So that could be one way in which you can reduce the complexity. AVL, as we know, the insertion can be log n as well as finding the maximum can also be done in a similar manner as BST, and that can be done in order one time. Alternatively, you can use a heap, right, which also has similar complexities as if you want to maintain that maximum information. So insertion will take order log n time, and find max can be done in order one time, but at the same time it is also efficient. It's not as complicated, I mean, as cumbersome in terms of execution time as binary search trees, and therefore we would be willing to uh, uh, study heaps in this context. Abhishek is asking, can you explain how BST to find max operation order one time? So let's say that we have maintained the maximum element somewhere, right? The next maximum after this maximum gets removed is also going to be in some sense nearby. So we keep track of that as the next pointer. Whenever an insertion happens, at that time we will have to update this pointer. So since we are traversing the tree, we know precisely what are the elements that we are encountering, which one is the next largest element is going to be nearby in that execution order. So this can be maintained in order one time during the insertion itself. And therefore you will be able to update those pointers in order one time. And therefore find max turns out to be order one. Right? So in some sense, there is a linked list which is maintained across the elements apart from this tree structure. That linked list is going to be uh, uh, traversed when you are doing the next find max and so on. Abhishek says, we will increasing space complexity by order n in this? That is correct. So if you are maintaining an additional pointer, then the space complexity increases. You are right, because there might be n elements, and therefore order n extra space might be required. That is correct. Yeah, I didn't mention the space complexity here, but yes, that can be larger. Aniruddha says here is find max, find and remove, uh, or just find. No, it is only find. It's not removing. I'm giving the example of remove because, okay. So typically, yeah, so the applications that we are talking about, typically the find max is find and remove, that is remove max or delete max in the applications, which is what is going to be happening in case of heap. But I was more thinking about these our earlier data structures like lists, BSTs, AVL, as there is find max and then there is a remove. But yes, these are going to get combined in the context of heap. But even in the context of heap, if we are able to support delete max in order one time, that means that we can support find max also in order one time. Murari says with deletion also order one is possible. Yes, with in the context of heap, deletion with order one is going to be possible. In case of AVL, no, we are not okay. So no, I think we'll have to charge the deletion separately. You are right. So only find max might be order one, but if we have to delete, then we'll have to say something explicitly about the delete, because in AVLs also the deletion is going to be order log n. So we won't be able to say that delete max is going to be order. The find max can be order. Correct. Any other suggestions? By the way, there was we had this small discussion about the code on hash tables, where we said that when we were looking at insert, remove, find, those three codes on three different slides, we had int index equal to hash of the element, right? And then there was a discussion we had that it should be mod h, and we said that yes, that should be mod h. But then I realized that the hash function itself will take care of that. So that mod h is somewhere inside the hash function. So that's why I had not written it down. All right. Any other concerns, questions? Okay. So let's look at heaps now. So once again, remember that we are interested in finding the element with the maximum priority, and we would like to keep doing that. The next delete max, the next delete max, etc. Plus, we would like to have a dynamic data structure where the elements are getting inserted and deleted. Right. So let's remember this scenario. And if it's easier for you, think about it as there are various processes in your operating system. The process, I mean, and there is only one core on your machine, which is unlikely these days, but there is only one thread or one process which is going to execute on a core. So you have to find out which is the highest priority process next. Right? So you have to do a delete max of the highest priority process. Then you will do the next delete max after this process is over, and so on. At the same time, the processes are coming in more and more into this data structure. Right? So more and more processes are getting scheduled. Right? So this scenario you can remember, and then we will it will be easier for you to understand this discussion. So heap essentially gets implemented as a binary heap by default, but there are different other kinds of heaps where it might not be binary. Right? There are other kinds of heaps like binomial heaps as well as Fibonacci heaps, which give slightly different complexities with respect to various operations. In all our discussion, we are going to use a binary heap. That binary heap, as you would know from our previous discussion about binary trees, is also going to look like a tree. Just that now we are going to, in some sense, uh, do slightly different operations. Plus, the representation is going to be a little different. The structural property of a heap is not going to be like a BST, where the elements on the left are smaller, element on the right are larger, and so on. It's going to be a little different. It's going to be from top to bottom. Right? So, sorry, that's not about the structural property. That is about the values. But yeah, the structural property is going to be, it's going to be a complete tree. What is meant by a complete tree? Complete tree essentially means that only the last level may not be full, which means that all the interior nodes are going to be full, which means that they are going to have two children. All the interior nodes are going to have two children. None of them will have one child. The last level where there could be non-full nodes, there will be non-full nodes. Those cannot appear arbitrarily. The leaves have to be pushed to the left. The leaves have to be pushed to the left side. Right? So in some sense, this heap is going to push the elements up and to the left. Okay? And therefore, it has, because of this restriction, it is guaranteed to have order log n height for n elements. Right? I'll show you the diagram on next slide, but please hold on to you for now. And as far as the values are concerned, like we had the AVL property or a BST property, right? The AVL property was with respect to the heights. The BST property was with respect to the values. In this case also, there is going to be a heap order property, which is going to be based on the keys that you insert. And we are going to maintain this particular property, that the child's key is going to be less than the parent key. This also suggests that the values are going to be in some sense unique, right? So that gives us the complexities that we are looking for, and therefore we are going to assume unique elements. That means that the root is always going to have the highest key. The root is going to have the highest key, and that is called as a max heap, because I'm going to do a removal of the maximum element at any point in time, and therefore that is called as a max heap. In case you are interested in let's say earliest arrival time, something like that, right? So where the arrival time becomes the key and you want to prioritize it based on that, then you can maintain some sort of a min heap, right? Which is going to be the opposite, where the child key is going to be strictly larger than the parent key. Right? Any questions so far on this discussion? Anything on the structural property or the value property which you have not understood? Okay, the structure is only about how the tree looks like visually, right? How the heap looks like. Whereas the value property or the heap order property is now going inside the nodes and talking about the keys. Okay, and typically it doesn't get implemented using pointers. Typically it gets implemented using arrays, but that is also not strict. But that is what we are going to use in our implementation. And there are reasons behind that. I'll explain to you soon. Murari says, can you explain second point in structural property? Yeah, the structural. So, for example, if I have the last level, let's say this is one node and this is another node in the last level, you cannot have something like this. There might be something above this. So this is not a valid heap. So in the valid heap, this node needs to be moved here. So the leaf nodes need to be pushed to the left. I'll show you with a picture, but yeah. Any other concerns, questions here? Okay, so this is what is a max heap example, where let's check if the structure is maintained. That is, it is going to be first of all a binary tree, which is correct. Then all the interior nodes are full, which means 52, 39, 12, 6, 30. These are all interior nodes, and all of them need to have two children. But that doesn't seem to be the case, because 30 is actually going to be uh, uh, not having two children, right? Okay, so I think I should have modified this a little bit. Um, let's go back only the. Okay, I think I need to clarify this about 30. I think there is something more to it. I probably wrote it wrong here, that only the last level may not be full, because even the second last level doesn't seem to be full. Okay, but I think we'll understand this with the example, but I think I'll have to make that point a little more precise. Okay, so that is first on the structure. The last point was the second point was that the element should be pushed to the left, which means that if you are having all these leaves 3, 1, 29 as well as 5, 11, these have to be on the left, right? So 5 and 11, anyway, there is no problem because of the presence of 6 and 30. But as far as 3, 1, 29 are concerned, those cannot appear somewhere here. There can't be holes in between. Right? So all of these should be pushed to the left. And the third one was because of this, that because the elements get pushed to the top as well as to the left, the height essentially becomes order log n, where n is the number of elements in the heap. Abhishek says it's okay, last level may not be full. Yeah, that seems to be okay. Yeah, so that seems to be okay. So that is to say that we are not saying anything about the non-last level, right? So it could be full, it need not be full. Yeah, but it is also not possible to have something like this, that so this link suppose is not present, right? So 30 and 29 are not present. This is also not possible. So in some sense 5 and 11 cannot be appearing here, those have to be pushed to the left. So And as soon as you push this to the left, 5 is the child of 39 and 11 is the left child of 12. Right? So that is what usually happens. Uh, okay, so uh, yeah, so I think the statement wise, as Abhishek says, that things it seems to be okay, but that doesn't say anything about the interior nodes, right? So maybe that was my wrong interpretation of interior nodes. Maybe we just leave it as it is, as there on the slide, that the last level may not be full. That is the elements which are at the, yeah, but that is always the case, right? The last level may not be full. I'll come back to this. I think it requires some more explanation, some more understanding on my side. Aniruddha says here subtree also follows the heap property. Yes. So when we said child key is less than parent key, that needs to be followed at every place in the heap. So at every place, not only at the root, but at every element, the child nodes have to be smaller. Both the children have to be smaller than the parent key. Murari says if you are inserting 10, then there will be a gap between 29 and 10. Okay. So how do we take care of second structural property? Uh, so where are you inserting 10, Murari? Below 11. No, this is not a heap. Sorry, this is not a BST, right? So, for example, this 30 is larger than, let's say, 11, right? So, ignore. So, that usually happens in our minds because we learn BST first. That this is not going to insert it in the BST order. These 39 and 12 are smaller than 52. That is the only property we know. As far as the ordering amongst 39 and 12 is concerned, that could be arbitrary. So I can do a mirror image of this tree and still I'll get a heap. So 12 is the left child and 13 is the right child. That is also okay. In a similar, like you can see that 39 is the larger one, 12 is the smaller one. But as far as 39 children are concerned, the left one is smaller and the right one is larger, which is also the case here, which gets opposite when we are talking about, let's say, 6 children, right? So there is no ordering amongst the children of a parent. Those could be in any order, and there is no BST property. So you can't say that I am going to come to 52, then maybe go to 12, and so on, right? So I can't say that for inserting 10, then I'm going to look for 11, and then now I'm going to insert 10 at either the left child of 11 or the right child of 11. No, that is not the case. We'll have to do it in a slightly different way. In fact, it might not get inserted. So, okay, let me put it in this manner. If you have to insert 10, right? What are the possible locations where you can insert 10? So, as far as value is concerned, as far as the heap order property is concerned, the structure will still have to take care of separately, and we'll come to insertion soon. But let's think about where all you can insert 10. Definitely, you can insert it below 52 somewhere, but then both of these are occupied, so we will not trouble them. Can you insert it below 39? Yes, but then those are occupied. So we will not worry about these internal nodes which are having at least one child. When it comes to insertion of 10, I cannot push it below 3. I cannot push it below 1. I cannot push it below 5. I can push it below 29, below 11, or below 30 as another child, right? As far as the value 10 is concerned. Right? So these are 3 possible places in which we will have to insert according to the heap property. But we will have to maintain the structural property also, that the elements need to be shifted to the left and so on. So this suffices for that purpose as far as insertion of 10 is concerned. We can't insert it here, right? Either left or right of 11. And we also should not insert it here because yeah, why should you not insert it below 29? Yeah, because we'll lose the property that the only the last level should be not full, right? So uh, the difference between these is turning out to be 2. So that is where some sort of height part comes into picture, which is where the log n property comes into play. So until I have finished this particular level, I cannot go to the next level, right? So that is where the fullness of the heap comes into picture, right? So that therefore I cannot insert it here, which means that I'll have to insert it below 30. But I think there is more to it rather than only this part. We'll have to look at the keys in a proper way, because we are talking about a specific type of heap, and therefore the way we are going to do it is that at every level we are going to look at whatever is the maximum child. I go there, then I go here. It turns out that in this case that is what is going to happen, and insert that 10 value here, right? But remember that the children could be in any order, and we have to still we cannot use the BST property. Okay, there are other suggestions. Murari says child of 30. Yes, only last level empty. That is correct. Only the last level can be empty. We cannot have, I mean, all the interior levels should be full. Oh, was that what I was saying here? Only the last level may not be full. Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay, now I understand what I had written. Sorry about this. I think I totally misplaced this sentence. This fullness is not about the children of the, not, it's not talking about that it should have 2 children, right? Fullness is about the yeah, what we were discussing just now, that you cannot go to the next level until the previous, sorry, you cannot go to the next level here until the previous level is full, right? So that is what is talking about the fullness of a level. Sorry about that. Abhishek says if we put in level order fashion, then it always satisfies our heap property. If we always insert elements in the level order fashion, then will it always satisfy the heap property? No, that is not guaranteed. I mean, for example, I'm just giving you a fictitious example. For example, if I reorder these as 6, 5, 30, 11, and if I insert 52, then 39, then 12, and then I insert 6 and 5, which are going to be the children of 39, that is okay. But then 30 and 11 will become children of 12, which does not satisfy the heap property. I don't know if you meant something else, Abhishek, but yeah, this is what well, if we are just talking about the structure, then I didn't understand how the heap property comes into picture. Oh, I see. You are saying that the last element, the last level may not be full. Yes. You are right. So you are right. So in fact, we actually do the insertion in some sense level order fashion. Right? You are right. So that's correct. So until you have filled up the previous levels, you can't go to the next level. As long as you follow that, you will maintain the structural heap property. Correct. Any other concerns here? Sorry about the confusion. We'll get that clarified with the next example where we are going to insert elements, but don't worry. Okay, so the heap is going to be represented, sorry, as an array, as we said, and for the sake of easiness, I'm not going to use the element 0 of that array. But you can use that, just require some index change, but it's easier to imagine it with one based indexing. So there are 10 elements in this, and those 10 elements are essentially stored level order in the level order fashion, right? 6, 3, 5, 11, and so on. Using this information, as some of you have also done it as part of the binary trees, that how do I find the parent of a node? Let's say I'm at 30. How do I find the parent of 30 from this array? That's correct. So we just do an integer division, and that is going to give us integer division by 2, and that is going to give you the index of that particular element's parent, right? So for example, 6 and 30 have the indices 4 and 5. If I do division by 2, I'm going to get the value 2, which is going to be 39. So 6 and 30's parent is at index 2, which is 39. Right? So for these two, similarly, if you look at any other, for example, 29, right, it is at index 10, that divided by 2 is going to be 5. So it's, did I write it? Yeah, that is going to be 30. So this becomes a good representation of binary trees where you are able to quickly find the parent information. How do I find the children if I have to go from top to bottom? So if I am at I, how do I find the children of I? Yes, so as Aniruddha says, it's going to be 2i and 2i plus 1 are going to be the children of I in a binary tree, right? In a k-array tree, it is going to be ki plus 1, ki plus 2, all the way up to ki plus k minus 1. But such a representation is going to be very helpful, not only to represent binary trees in general, but a heap in particular, which means that this array-based representation is something which is going to help us implement the heaps. We will have to see how do I insert elements, because we know that as soon as you start inserting elements in an array, you need to shift elements. So how do I keep track of that? That is going to be one concern. The second part is that you need to know the array size a priori, which means that you need to know the number of elements that you should be inserting into this array a priori, the maximum number of elements. Right? So that also needs to be looked at. But thankfully, since the elements are inserted in top to bottom and left to right fashion, that means that the elements in this array are going to get inserted as you go from left to right. I hope you are able to see that, right? So the elements are inserted in level order fashion from left to right. And therefore, you just need to keep populating this array as you are inserting more and more elements. As far as the number of elements are concerned, the heap property still needs to be maintained, which requires some juggling of elements. But given a heap, that is given a tree, you can build its array-based representation just by doing a level order traversal, top to bottom, left to right. The other aspect is that we have to worry about is the only aspect that we have to worry about is knowing the maximum number of elements that you might ever insert into this heap. That can pose some restrictions, but yeah, so that's definitely one limitation of heaps. All right, so that becomes our heap. And one example which is not a heap is this, where there is going to be, this is a max heap, and therefore 15 cannot be the child of 12. So as far as structure is concerned, the structure property is satisfied, but the heap property is not satisfied. Yeah, so this we discussed. Okay, yeah, so one important point about this is that in the heap, two elements have an ordering relationship between them, or you can guarantee that there is ordering relationship between them if one is reachable from the other. Right? So we did this hash path in quiz 2. If that hash path returns true, then you can talk about the ordering between these two elements. Okay. Otherwise, we cannot say anything about that. For example, 39 and 12 or 30 and 5, they do not have a path between them, directed path. And therefore, we can't say which one is going to be smaller, which one is going to be larger. But let's say 39 and 29 have a path between them. and therefore you will be able to say that there is some ordering between the two elements. Okay. Obviously, the one which is the source of this path and the destination of this path, the source is going to be larger in max heap than the destination, and opposite in the min. Okay. Any questions on this part so far? All right. Yeah, so we need to depend upon fixed size array. So the ADT of the max heap, that has been our goal all throughout, that we need to talk about the abstract data type, which means that I don't care about the implementation. I just talk about how the functions are, how the interface is. That is going to be essentially talking about two important functions first. The first one is insert an element. That element could be key value pair, and the second one is delete max, right? So this is not only find max, this is actually delete max. That's what we were discussing about. And in the process we might require some other functions which also can be supported with maxheap. For example, increasing the priority of not a process, increasing the priority of an element. So originally it was, let's say, priority number 39. Now I want to increase it to 52, right? Something like that, or even decrease the priority of a particular element. This can occur in dynamic environments where priorities can be changed. For example, in Linux environment, the priority of a process can be changed using that nice command. So such a mechanism might exist. And then the removing of a particular element, right? This particular element could be arbitrary. It need not be the maximum or the minimum, right? So these might be some extra functions we might require. And then building of a heap itself might turn out to be, so you are given a bunch of elements and you want to create the heap. The reason why this needs to be differently done is that you can always insert it. That is all right. But building of the heap can be, so if you insert the heap, insert n elements into the heap, then the complexity you get is larger than if you are given the bunch of elements and you want to create a heap out of it. So therefore build heap turns out to be a different important function. All right, so we are going to focus on insert and delete max, and let's do that on an example. Okay. So insertion has to happen at the first empty leaf, because we are talking about insertion in top to bottom, left to right order. Therefore, insertion has to happen at the first empty leaf. And then we percolate the element upward. What that means is that you first satisfy the structural property and then take care of the heap order property. Right? I'll repeat that. We first take care of the structural property and then take care of the heap order property. So given this heap, which is the current state of the heap, and I want to insert 40, where should I insert that? Well, because of the structural property, I should insert it as the right child of 30. So the structural property is maintained, but the heap order property might be dissatisfied because there is a max heap. 40 cannot be the child of 30. So we need to percolate this element upwards. What does that mean? That means that I'm going to see, oh, 40, 30 is in a problem. Right? So 40, 30 is violating the heap order. So let me move 40 up and push 30 down. So let me exchange this parent-child relation. As soon as that happens, now heap order is maintained at this place, but not only that, it is also maintained at this subtree. The reason being, if originally this was satisfied, that means 30 was larger than 29, and there was exchange of 30 and 40, that means that 40 is larger than 30, and therefore 40 is definitely larger than 29, and therefore moving 40 up is maintaining the heap order property at the subtree, new subtree. Okay, but this might not be satisfied upwards, as you can see with respect to 39 and 40, and therefore this we might have to repeat such that 40 goes up further. And then when you since 39 was larger than 6, 40 is anyway going to be larger than 6, and therefore then we check and therefore it is satisfying the heap order property at this subtree. At this stage, we can check further, and the heap order property is maintained here, and therefore we can stop. So as you can see, the number of such percolations that you might require is going to be bounded by the height of the tree, which is going to be bounded by log n, because this is going to be a full tree. Oh, sorry, complete tree, not full tree. So yeah, what is the difference between a full tree and full binary tree and complete binary tree? Anybody knows? We said that heap is a complete binary tree. So, full tree and complete binary tree. Okay, a full binary tree has, okay, Aniruddha says only last level may not be full. Abhishek says complete binary tree can have null child. Murari says full tree has exactly, okay, right. So a full tree, will take Murari's suggestion, a full tree has exactly 2 to the power, some power of 2 minus 1 number of nodes, right? So it can, so for example, 52 alone is a full binary tree. Then 52, 39, 12 is a full binary tree. 52, 39 is not a full binary tree. 52, 39 is a complete binary tree. Similarly, a heap is a complete binary tree. It need not have 2 to the power h minus 1 number of elements. Right? So it's a complete binary tree. It's not full. So full has restrictions on the number of elements, right? 1, 2, 7, sorry, 1, 3, 7, 15, and so on. Right? Well, as far as null child is concerned, that is always going to be there in trees, right, at the leaves. All right, so that seems to be good. Any suggestions, any questions, any issues with respect to the insertion, how we inserted it here? Okay, so that turns out to be, okay, we'll worry about delete max a little later, but one thing which I wanted to highlight here is that this percolation upwards was something similar to splaying, or in case of AVL, just that in case of AVL and splay trees, we were using rotations. The rotations were required because we wanted to maintain the BST property. In this case, the heap order property is relatively simple. There is no ordering amongst the children. And therefore, we just need to look at the parents, and that helps us implement it in a slightly simplified way. And that is the one of the reasons why having that array-based representation is still helpful, because you can quickly go to the parent, right? As well as you can go to the children. So that becomes a constant time operation to identify the parent as well as the children. Okay. So yeah, I think delete max will require some discussion. So I'll wait for any questions and we'll stop here. Okay, Murari has a question. As 40 and 12 cannot be ordered, in OS context, will it schedule these processes to different processors, so to say? Well, it's not guaranteed, but I think I understand what you are trying to say. So, okay, I'll tell you how it's going to happen. So we are going to remove the highest priority. I mean, this is going to be useful when you have not only one processor or one core, but even multiple processors. But even if there is one processor, that is going to push 52 to that processor. And then 40 is going to become the root. Once you do again delete max, that 40 is going to get removed and scheduled on that processor. But if you have some other processor, you can repeat this process. So 52 gets assigned to core 0, 40 gets assigned to core 1. And then after that, not 12, but 39 is going to become the next element to be pulled out. So we can't say that 40 and 12 will get, so it's not level wise that the elements are going to get removed. The elements are going to get removed exactly in the sorted order. The elements out of a max heap or a min heap are going to get removed exactly in the sorted order. That is the advantage that heaps have. And still you are able to maintain this log n property. Yeah, we'll see delete max tomorrow. I think that will become clearer. I made some mistakes in the explanation of that, which might have confused some of you, but yeah, I'll revisit this. Okay, Aniruddha says in the rotation case, we need only maximum 2 rotations per insertion. Here up to log n percolations are happening. That is correct. As far as insertion was concerned, we just required 2 because we were maintaining this global property of all the elements to the left side of the this node are going to be smaller, right? And therefore, by making small pointer manipulations, we were able to do the rotations. We were able to take care of insertion. In addition, I'll also mention that while inserting, we were actually following the BST property, right? So we went to the root and then we were traveling all the way up to the element where that element could have been present, and then we were inserting it there. And just to maintain the height balance, we were doing the rotations. However, don't forget that the insertion per se is not order 1, right? The searching for that element still requires you log n time. Right? Only the rotations were constant time and 2 rotations were sufficient. In this case also, we are going to do percolations based on the values, and therefore we will require log n time here also and the log n time there also. Any other concerns here? All right, so we'll stop here. See you in the next class.